The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our AI in Action series, where leading minds in AI from across the world share their story, success, and advice. AI in Action cuts through the hype and explores the true impact of artificial intelligence in our world today.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Eddie Moller. Eddie is the head of data science at Juvena Therapeutics. Eddie, welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. So Eddie, let's start with yourself, please. Could you give us a bit of an overview on your background in technology and your journey from where you got started to some of the roles you had along the way and take us up to today as the head of data science for Juvena?
My previous experience includes building and scaling and leading teams of essentially data science professionals, in the area of bioinformatics, software development, data analytics, and even some, automation and instrumentation and things like that. And I've been at organizations like Quest Diagnostics, GE Healthcare, Novartis, and also a couple of startups in the medical diagnostic space and instrumentation space. Now, third startup at Biopharma company. How I got into sort of this area, I chose chemistry for undergraduate and graduate school. I was pretty good at math, always had an affinity for coding. So even as an undergrad, I was working in chemical physics labs, writing programs to find and fit peaks and chromatograms and spectra and things like that. Continued that through graduate school. So there's a lot of interaction of collecting large, high-dimensional experimental data, and then having to use computational models like quantum mechanical modeling and things like that, in that case, to interpret and really extract from the data, the knowledge to answer the questions you want to answer. So with that kind of background, there was a time when data sets started getting, the way I like to think of it is they got too large for the biologists to analyze in Excel, right? That's the transition point to really where you start to bring in essentially a data scientist or an analytical modeler of some kind. So that was really the transition over. And then since then, as I mentioned, I've found really interesting applications, worthwhile work for things that are good for humanity underneath it all. I've really enjoyed that. I think the growth of machine learning and the ability to apply some fairly sophisticated models really is API calls now, right? You don't even have to develop the algorithm yourself. It has been a really transformative capability.
Eddie, thank you for the background. It's great to learn about your journey thus far and obviously taking you to where you are today. You mentioned you've recently made the switch to Juvena. Tell us all about the mission at Juvena. There's a lot of exciting things happening across therapeutics and life sciences with the use of data science. What is the mission at Juvena? And talk to us then about your role as the head of data science.
So I've been with the company 3 months, and there were several things I found and still find really compelling about the company. One is, of course, the space that the company's working in, just to recap that, because probably maybe most people don't know, is, applying regenerative medicine approaches to treating diseases that are degenerative or progressive. There's one of the compelling things about the company to me was the unique approach to identifying biologic therapeutics. So these would be proteins and peptides, things like that are secreted by stem cells and progenitor cells that are known to direct the development and generation of tissues. And so there's a lot of factors in there, and no one knows what they all are or what they do. And so the company's founded around mining that particular area of biology. So that's a unique aspect to the company. Other companies in the regenerative space are focusing on small molecules or gene therapies. And so biologics is a relatively untapped area, we believe. Then, another thing that's compelling to me about Juvena is the vision that the founders and the founding team had from the beginning of a machine learning or AI-driven R&D process. So throughout every step, predictive modeling is applied where it can really either accelerate the speed of screening, where it can identify relationships between proteins and diseases and phenotypes that otherwise aren't obvious, or if it's in protein structure prediction and protein feature prediction. So when you're trying to engineer a protein you find that's naturally occurring, but you want to optimize it for a therapeutic purpose, there's a lot of fascinating things. And of course, with the development of AlphaFold, that's opened up whole new areas of possibilities in terms of predictive modeling, in terms of features. And then also all the way through to in vivo verification of mechanism of action, things like that, where the company has applied machine learning and classification methods to classify animal behavior, for example, as outcomes to studies on efficacy. So there's just every step of the way, there's really a lot of opportunities to improve and accelerate the drug discovery and development process.
So you're all obviously overseeing all things data science. Can you give us a look behind the scenes at the current makeup of the data team, not just in data science, but then the broader data organization, how you guys interact with data engineering, analytics, and working with the more computational science side of the business?
So the company's early stage. Another one of the compelling things about the company was that they demonstrated this strategy for discovering therapeutic candidates with a relatively small number of people over just a few years. So there's one lead, second kind of backup, and pre-IND enabling studies. So we intend to, those are getting pretty far along towards applications for clinical use studies. And they did that with a very small number of people. The sort of mandate that we have now, and part of the reason I've joined, is to scale up that initial platform and demonstrate that we can repeat that across many therapeutic areas. So there, as a formal team, data science is only as old as when I joined the company, and there's two people, including me. There's a couple of several founding scientists, founding members of the company that have those kind of multi-expert areas of expertise, both lab and the ability to do computational biology. And they really did all the groundwork there. Now we're scaling out a dedicated team. So I'm growing the team by several factors over the next few months and through into next year. And we really expect to step up the abilities, the throughput and capacity to apply predictive modeling to discovering these new therapeutics.
You are listening to the Alldus podcast. When you're looking to scale your team, or if you are interested in showcasing your company in a future episode, reach out today. Or if you're in the market for a new role, visit our website to view open positions, www.alldus.com.
So Eddie, your role, while it's overseeing the team, a big part of it is going to be to build the team, bring in the various skill sets required, build the culture. When you're speaking to candidates about the work that you're doing at Juvena, the environment, the potential impact that it can have on the industry, and why it would be a great place to work, what are some of the things that you're telling candidates to get them excited and interested about Juvena's team over some of the great opportunities available to them?
Well, one is it is an early stage company. So there's lots of opportunity in terms of things like equity and being able in on the kind of the ground floor of the company as it goes commercial. There's the opportunity that I've personally enjoyed too, which is we're starting with a lot of things from scratch in a sense, right? We can choose tools, technologies, methodologies that fits what we want to do. And so therefore is more focused on achieving our goals, and while still having just enough sort of structure that we have to have in the R&D pharma space to meet compliance and things like that. But it's a very dynamic place. So you have an opportunity to pick up new algorithms, new methods or approaches, experiment with them, work on optimizing or improving the performance of all these different kinds of modelings applications that I mentioned earlier. There's a lot of fun, a lot of opportunity. People are pretty fast moving. Everyone's very hands-on. There will be opportunities for team leadership development and skills around managing teams down the road as we go. Right now, it's very much hands-on, tactical for everybody, top to bottom.
Eddie, bringing it back to yourself, then you've obviously worked in the combination of data within the life sciences space for a number of years now, and you've decided to make the switch over to Juvena. When you look at the next few years, what are you excited about for the work that you and your team are going to do, the growth, and what you guys can accomplish?
What I'm really excited about is I think We can take what is a proprietary, knowledge base that's growing, that's very interesting scientifically, and sole focus is to translate that into treatments, therapies that improve people's lives. And that opportunity, and in an environment where our mission is to do this in an accelerated fashion, means that over the next 2 or 3 years, we should be able to demonstrate really fantastic progress. And it's all driven by being really intelligent about collecting and interpreting and thinking about the sources of data and the relationships between these different kinds of data, and then putting that together into a picture that tells us something that no one's really known before.
Eddie, thank you so much for coming on today and talking to us. Great to learn about your background and your recent move to Juvena. The space that you're operating in is probably the most exciting of all industries for its use of data science and AI, given the impact it can have. And it sounds like a great time to be joining an exciting startup. So we wish you, the team, and everyone at Juvena the best of luck in the months and years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.